I'd like to write a piece someday called "The Plight of the Modern Emasculated Man." We live in quite a time of emasculation. You know, something interesting happened after growing this beard to me. I found that men had more respect for me. I'd have even men come up and talk to me about my beard. Ask me, how long have you been growing that beard? That is such an epic beard. It's, I guess, the closest thing I've ever experienced to being a guy with some big muscle car, right? Or some fancy sports car. Because I've only heard stories about men being approached by other men when they have those kinds of things. But I didn't really realize until growing a beard that it would command so much respect among other men. And, well, I can certainly tell you that's not why I grew the beard. I grew the beard to scare women away. That's kind of a joke. I think that's partially true, but that's not the full reason as to why. Now, interestingly, this beard does not serve me well in interviews. If I'm looking for a job, for example. It's interesting. It's made me really see more clearly how getting a job is very similar to getting a date. An employer doesn't want to hire anything resembling alpha energy, which frankly I've never thought of myself having. But the beard conveys that. It's purely cosmetic, right? And it dawned on me that there is kind of a living hypocrisy in the modern West. Where deep down within us, we respect alpha energy, but at a cultural and corporate level, it's frowned upon. And it's asked of men to prune that away from themselves. Shave, clean up. Don't have so much confidence in yourself. Be submissive. Be agreeable. How many people right now are pulling their he, she pronouns, zer, they, him, her? How many people are just? It's like that meme of Homer Simpson just backing up into the bushes. How many people are just like, oh, well, I'm gonna get rid of that now? Those kinds of people make me cringe. People who just go along with what they're told to go along with. They bend over. They agree, they bow. They have no true desire to fully actuate their individuality. Their own agency. You know, if the pendulum is truly allowed to swing in the other direction, like we're being told it's going to happen, I have my doubts. I have my serious doubts. I'm hopeful, and I'm certainly relieved that Trump won the election, but I'm not happy because I'll believe it when I see it. Let's just say it that way. I'll believe these things when I see them actually happen. But if the pendulum is allowed to swing in the other direction from where it's been the last 12 years, at least, you'll be able to know exactly who to trust and who not to trust. Much like during the pandemic, you know, if I had been looking to date, that would have been the best time, because all I'd have to do is look at which women are not wearing masks, and that would save me an enormous amount of money, heartache, and time. And so I still, even though I wasn't looking, I kept my eyes open. And I looked and saw, are there any women not wearing any masks? And the answer was no, because I live in Washington State, which voted 70% for Kamala. And if I ever saw a woman not wearing a mask, she was usually taken. She was usually with she usually had this big smile on her face, and she was with a good-looking guy. But all the women that I saw unattached were wearing masks. So even if I was looking, there's no way it would have worked out by virtue of where I live. It'd be nice if there were a way to know whether or not someone was vaccinated, which, you know, obviously wouldn't be a good thing, but it would be like, I definitely, if I ever wanted to date again, it would be one of my first questions. So, what's your stance on vaccines? And I will accept nothing, no tolerance. If they're like, yeah, I'm okay with it sometimes, no vaccines at all. I'm a hardcore anti-vaxxer. Whoa, that reduces the pool of options to what? In Washington State. So anyway, my point is, if the pendulum does swing the other way, pay attention to who's removing those things from their profile, because that tells you a lot about that person. It means that they never really stood for that. They just stood for being agreeable. They just wanted to go along to get along. And those people, they're really not agentic, right? They are pawns of somebody else's game. And you can't trust a pawn. The pawn is not there to genuinely have a relationship with you. They are there in service of something else. So if the pendulum does swing the other way, don't forget. Don't forget. Use the last 12 years, as brutal as they were, as an opportunity for you to gain clarity about who you can trust. And frankly, a lot of us have already been shunned, right? by so many people, friends, family, people that just, by virtue of you saying anything remotely positive about Trump, decided that you just didn't belong anymore. Or those friends that said, oh, sorry, you can't come to our wedding because you're not vaccinated. You know, oh, sorry, you can't come to our wedding because you won't wear a mask. It's been a truly clarifying time. And I hope that that's what it becomes. Because if the pendulum is not allowed to swing the other way, there is no benefit to be gained from that clarity. We'll just fall further and further and further into hell. And all that will remain are the pawns. Just a colony of ants serving the queen. And that's really what rules us, is queen energy. Even if it's men at the top, it's a force that emasculates men. It's a force designed to take away men's ability to reproduce, so that a smaller and smaller select group has the right of reproduction exclusively to themselves, a monopoly on reproduction. I call it the porkyarchy, or we could call it queen energy. And so there's this kind of elephant in the room, unspoken elephant, of like men largely thinking this is kind of cool and epic, but culturally not being able to admit that, not being able to say it publicly, and not even be able to themselves have the courage to even grow facial hair, because they know how frowned upon it is by culture, by the employer, by schools, by, all our institutions. When have you walked into any building where people are wearing suit and ties and they have this? This is associated with gurus and people that kind of run off and live in caves. That's how we culturally associate it with. And yet deep inside, among men, they perceive it in a valuable way, which tells you a lot about our evolution and where facial hair probably really came from, which was from male-to-male competition. Women don't like this. Definitely don't like it. So this was something that was selected by men. Men determining that's going to be our leader, right? Men saw value in the beard. And interesting that I can perceive that ancestral training is still there. It's fascinating. And simultaneously fascinating as well that is an instinct that is largely shunned by culture and the marketplace. Thanks for watching.